Hey folks, welcome back. I got a special guest on tonight, Isaiah, the miscellaneous boy Mini from. You're from the Brush Sauce Hangouts. That's where I met you. Which, you guys, we have links below for that if you ever want to join and come hang out. But yeah, I'm in there every Monday night. I'm hanging out with you, and you're showing up, very very consistently, and you got these really badass sculptures that you're always working on, and that we're looking at and chatting. So I just had to have you on. So thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler, for having me.
And you're creating digital content and you're definitely focusing on sculpting miniatures, correct?
Yes, so it's going to be digital file for printing, 3D printing.
3D printing, awesome. So do you want to, basically I got you on tonight, I want you to take us into that whole world of sculpting and the idea of digitally kind of sculpting and then printing a physical object from that. If you'd like to walk us through, a little bit of that process, that would be amazing.
With ZBrush. Okay. So the process of sculpting, it can vary, but normally we just start with like a simple base. So I have all these low poly base mesh, right? So I start with this. Then I just come up with a not come up with a concept, but like I'm trying to find like a cool concept for it, right? So last month we were doing like rogues and some other thieves and bandits. So I have this concept of like, her name is Nehiri, and she's like a ex-dancer, and she turns into like an assassin or rogues, right? So I work from this base mesh into this kind of like an A pose.
Now, do you start these with like a drawing or any kind of preliminary work, or do you just design as you're sculpting in 3D?
Yeah, the latter. So just design as I sculpt.
Freestyling it, huh?
Yeah, but normally I just have like a reference on the side to look at. Yeah, I was looking at everything, concept arts. I was looking at real world references.
Awesome. And how long does that process typically take you at this level, from going to the rough kind of base mesh to that final one?
Oh, it probably take me like 2 days max, like 48 hours from the base mesh to kind of like rough out A pose.
How long have you been using ZBrush for this? Is that like probably the only software to do this? Have you tried any other ones?
I have tried Blender, but
Sculpting in Blender, huh?
yep. And like Blender crashes a lot when there's a lot of vertices and stuff.
Yep.
And plus you cannot like cut models like easily like ZBrush, so I changed to ZBrush.
How many polys does your figures typically kind of end up with?
Right. So like I ended up with less poly because there is a decimate option.
Yep.
So this decimation master will get you to like lower poly. So like there's 35K, 20K. But I started with like almost 7 millions to 10 millions each.
And so for those that don't know how decimate works, that's essentially going to take something very complex and very kind of heavy on the computer, right? And that's going to optimize a way to kind of reduce that.
Yes. So for example, you can see this breast piece, right?
Yep.
And that's the poly that is very dense. So you just go decimate and take it down to like 20K and you will see the difference. Why that load up? Yeah, we can just keep talking.
And so do you do that in ZBrush per section or per part? I assume with the workflow on this, you have different like layers or different segments for the different clothing or limbs, right?
Exactly, yes. When you have everything separate, it's just like Photoshop. When you have like everything separated, it's just easier to make an adjustment.
What do you recommend for people out there to looking to kind of get their feet wet with this?
Sure. So I watched this series, the video series from Michael Pavlovich. He's very, very good at explaining stuff like what ZBrush is and like just get your feet wet and then get you going
Mm-hmm.
like as soon as possible on his channel. I can link you
Yeah,
later
awesome.
on.
Yeah, we'll have the information on screen. Thank you.
So right now I have 3 months in, so it's 24 models.
Are you at the point now where you're kit bashing, a lot of them together?
Sometimes yes,
Take
like
some
all these,
shortcuts?
yeah, some of these weapons.
Now,
Um,
do you ever digitally paint or texture these next in the pipeline, or do you kind of leave them
oh,
very basic?
so I wanted to do that in Substance Painter. I was seeing you like doing it. It looks so much fun, but
Yeah, get
I,
those get on the 30-day trial. Get these in Substance.
yeah, um, I I will need to learn that. Yes,
I think there's fur options. I think there's scale. And they have like additional plugins because I was looking up stuff for like alien skin and things like that. Like they have a lot of different options for that stuff.
that's awesome. Yeah, I need to take a look into that.
I guess there's
Yeah,
also,
thank you.
I mean, there's Quixel stuff. I think there's was Marmoset, right? Have you ever tried any of the Marmosets? The tool bag.
Mm, I've seen a lot of stuff that come off my said that is looking pretty cool, but I haven't tried myself.
So what is the process then of getting like let's say some of us digital creators can get to a point where they sculpt something out. What is the next step to get that to like, if printed, 3D printed as a physical object?
Right. So let's walk you through that. So we have an A pose, and then we're just trying to come up with a dynamic pose, right? So I pose that models into this pose. And then after we do this, we we already talked about decimation. So we let's yeah. So we decimate this model, and then we have to make sure that it's printing, right? So we're gonna have to like actually let me merge all this. Okay. So we need to make sure that the model is not hollow, means there's no holes inside, internally or inside the models. So we have to like make a cube and then do a cut, like live Boolean, and then trying to see if there's any hole in the model. So can you see this with me?
Yeah,
Like,
you have to drag that
yes.
through like that.
Mm-hmm. So shaking throughout the model that there is no holes.
Because that'll
And
will that glitch up the 3D printer if it does fine? Because I know my models are filled with them because I had no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, that's the thing, right?
yeah. So you have to make sure that the models, well, there's a threshold to it, right? So
Hmm.
like if it's like so small, the printer will just fill it up by itself. But normally we just need to make sure that when you slice this through, the model
All right, so
is
let's say there's a
solid.
cavity, in the leg or the torso. Do you just have to manually go fill that in right there on the spot, or?
Yeah, so I developed this technique. So let's see. So you see this cavity, right?
Yep.
Right there. So this is a technique. So we gonna use the inflate brush and just go in and just inflate it, and now the cavity is filled, right?
Oh,
So that's pretty,
yeah.
really intuitive. So you just like slice this cube up and down, trying to find where the cavity is, and use the inflate brush to fix that. So it's pretty easy.
Hmm. All right, so now you have an optimized or a decimated object. You have to merge all your layers when you have your desired pose, right? You make sure you have no holes in it.
Exactly, yeah. So normally we do what we call modularity or I can't pronounce it. Can you help me out?
Modularity.
Yes, thank you. Um, so what I mean by that is like you see all this part, right?
Yeah.
So we have the body. So we have to cut it like that.
Oh, you have to break it into pieces, right? And then
Yes, for the quality purpose. Because when it printed individually, it will print at a high quality. So and
makes
plus
sense.
when you paint it, like physically painted it,
It's a lot
it's
easier.
easier. Yeah.
So do
So
you
the
have to
hand.
then actually get in there and sculpt out those joints?
Good question. Sometimes it just works out like this. Let me see. So this cat, it doesn't have to like be anything fancy. Just make sure to have like a square slot for
Yeah.
the arm to be inserted, so it's like locked in place and not like moving. So that's the what do you call it? A nab, right? So it's a square nab, so it just fits right in that slot. So ZBrush operates a little different than Blender, so we have to choose difference, which is this
Yep.
open circle, and then we just do a live boolean. So once we got that, we just gonna do we just do a boolean operation. So we have to put it in folder.
Nothing worthwhile comes easy. I think that's the lesson here.
Exactly, yes.
All right, so you got
Yeah.
the key made, you get the parts.
So here's the trick that you were asking about. So this hole has to be a little bigger than the key.
Yeah.
A little bigger than this one, right? So we're gonna just scale that down just by a little.
So right now that it's a little bigger, when you're building the actual thing, what do? You apply like an adhesive or glue and just kind of stick it in and let it set?
Yes. Or sometimes it just like fit into that slots without having to glue it. So that's gonna be like, okay, that's lucky.
Yeah, that's lucky.
Yeah.
I get that.
Not need glue or anything like that.
All right, so how do you like basically export a file like this? How do you prep the file itself beyond the model for this process?
Right. So after we like done with this process, we're gonna go to that C plugin and go to 3D Print Hub.
Oh,
I believe so, yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, so after you like export and stuff, right? Then you just have to repair. It's called repairing your models. So that repairing process is gonna make sure that your models doesn't have holes and doesn't have like inverted normal.
Yeah.
It's called NetFab. Let me share the screen. So once we export the models, right, we're just gonna put that in there. So we just drop it in, let it load up, and just check automatic. Sorry.
Is this a software that is built for and with the 3D printer in mind, or because I know Autodesk makes it's obviously separate than ZBrush, but this is like the in-between software I'm trying to understand.
Yes. So this software will check if your models have like any kind of problem if you're going to print it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And it doesn't only check, it also repair the models. So you can see this option here, say automatic part repair.
Yeah.
So yeah, just hit add part and it will repair automatically. So it will run through this and see if there's any problem. And once this is done, then your model is ready to be printed. So this one is actually too big, like for minutes. So it's like at 183 millimeters.
Yeah.
That's too big. So you can scale it down, just like.
All right. How do you
else.
know if it's too big? Is there an alert that comes on anywhere that maybe I missed? Because it looks like it fits, like visually.
Yeah. So this square, it doesn't matter. You
Okay.
can go
Doesn't matter.
beyond it, right? Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
But we have to make sure that that it fits within the scale, the miniature scale. So we have like a lot of scales, right? So we have 15 millimeters. Actually, let me show
so
you.
like if you're building like a set or a series, then you know how big they are in relationship to each other, and they're accurate to that.
Yes. So we have 15 millimeter scales. Not shopping, sorry. And then we have, yeah. So this is like an army, right?
Yeah.
Of 15 millimeters, and then we have 32 millimeter scales. I'm bad at scale. I'm still learning too, but yeah. So basically, it's. But I have my own scale, so let me show you that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see the chart first, right? So this is common in Dungeons and Dragons games, right? So this is a size comparison chart.
All right, so you basically at this stage are just purely checking your scale.
Yes. When, so I did this like just for an example, but actually when you import the models, you have to import like everything at once,
Oh, okay.
body, lower body, right? And then when you do that, you can like, okay, let's take this druid as an example. So once you import like everything at once, you can just like select everything and then just scale it however you want, like this.
Ah, okay.
So this software is taking an STL and exporting as an STL with the fixed parts, right? So it fixes all the problems.
Okay.
Okay, so once you export this, right? So in order for it to print, we have to support it. Let me see if I can. So in theory, 3D printer cannot print anything that is not support, right? So this is another software that you need. It's called Shittybox or yeah,
Chiduba.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. So we got our mighty
Oh,
torso.
oh my God.
Yeah. So let's go to fit. Okay, so take this as an example, right?
Yep.
So in order for this to print, we have to support it. What I mean by that is, okay, so slicing, hold on. So we're gonna try to slice this. So this is, let's imagine this is a 3D printer.
Yep.
When it prints, it will print from,
Just like that.
so let's, yeah, so this is the like a build plate. What they call is a platform that model will sit on, right?
Yep.
So this is how it's gonna come out. And what we call these pillars or a little like toothpick, something like that, it's a support.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in theory, like when we're trying to get something print, anything that is hanging like 90 degrees, it needs these pillars to support, or else it will not print, because it will print like mid-air, and 3D printer cannot do like a mid-air printing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's like a spruce. I don't know if you're familiar with like Warhammer
Yeah.
40K and stuff. Yeah, so that those models come in spruce,
Yep.
right? And this support is acting kind of like a spruce to keep the model in place. So in Warhammer 40K, they have like a molding or casting, right? So that is not a problem, because the material is going to go directly like right into the molding, and it's just going to cast itself. But 3D printer, it works a little different. So it's going to be like printing from the bottom up.
All right, so then it goes to the printer. Does that kind of wrap up that process?
Yeah.
That's really cool, and it looks like for the most part, those 3D printers will retain most of those details pretty well.
Yes. And thank you for the my supporter, like the one that helped me. He knows like the stuff. So it's actually very difficult to get these kind of details in. So like, for example, this, well, it's not really good picture, but like the creases and details on this gun, like you can see that this gun has like a little details on it, close up. That's another thing though, when you put details in these miniatures, you have to consider like how small it is in reality.
So you keep it. That's not like the edge of your like sculpting threshold. Basically, you just keep things stylized to a sense that it translates well to the product.
Exactly, yes.
It's called the avatar, right? Like this thing is like super detailed. Like you get the full turnaround on them and stuff. So like that's a little bit more technically what you can do with this stuff, and you even animate them too, right?
Yeah, the 360 turnaround,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool stuff.
Thank you, Tyler.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight and talking to us about this process about 3D printing.
Awesome.
So you probably will know more about 3D printers than I do. Does it like the cost of the printer, kind of translate to how much detail they can print? or how reliable they are, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So there are two types of printers. There's one type that is really expensive and is like using a laser technology. So that one is actually doesn't need any supports or sprues. So that one, yeah, that one is like using laser. So this model will be printing like almost mid-air, and the laser will just cut the materials out, and that one will give you the most details, but also cost you more. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess everyone will have to let us know below if they want to see me. I'd love to see me come back on this channel where like, hey, look what I printed. I'd love to get to that point where I can do that. That would be a lot of fun. Okay, so someone like me that wants to get into this someday, at least very casually, should someone work just on like just their sculpting skills first and then learn this process a little more, intricately about how to get the model printed?
I would say like the stuff that you do, like the aliens, I think that one is already like solid for printing. It just
You'd have to
yeah,
go
just like
optimized and put through the ringer then.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll have to get in contact with your partner there and see what'll. You guys want to go into business? We'll see what'll run me to get that guy printed.
I was gonna say my partner, his Instagram is Big Tooth Creative, and yeah, you can contact him directly.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put everybody's info below, guys. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions for me or Zai here, let us know below, and I'm sure one of us will get back to you with the answer. All right. Hey guys, thanks for watching once more. For your information, I am scheduling into February of 2022 of the one-on-one mentorship, and on the website itself, I have books and gear recommendations, as well as a complete gallery of what you'd have access to for signing up for the Patreon. I think it's over 100 lessons and videos now. It's all there. And as well as I do have a newsletter at the bottom if you just want to receive notifications of upcoming content and discounts on services and promotions. All right, thank you.